Earlier this year, right at the end of March, there was an unfortunate shooting that did occur. Not the ultimate end result with those two heroic police officers storming the place and turning this trans individual from a supposed she-her into a was-were. No. We're talking about the school shooting that precipitated all of this stuff, conducted by Audrey Hale. Dominated the headlines for a hot second until there was another one, then a bank shooting after that, and then it just ended up getting pushed out of the headlines. And then there was talk at the time in the subsequent weeks of there was a manifesto. It's like, okay, normally with, not like you're ever really looking for the release of this stuff, but it always seems to follow after all of these things. The different shootings that unfortunately have happened throughout this entire year, whenever there's one that has been left over, I can think of the Buffalo guy, okay, the guy who went to a upstate New York grocery store to take out as many black people as he so desired and, streamed it on Twitch, a total psychopath. He left behind some notes. Those were immediately released, so tit for tat on this one, or titless for tat in this case, but nothing ever came of it. And of course, it thankfully, kind of, went out of everybody's mind. The perpetrator was found, neutralized, and unfortunately, there are some destroyed families left in the aftermath, but this wasn't a Uvalde situation where the police officers need to do better next time. No. It was taken care of appropriately, or as best as you can at the time. So yes, as people started to move on, the idea of releasing the manifesto just became a nebulous concept, kind of like officially releasing the names, even though Ryan Dawson has done this years ago, of anybody on the Jeffrey Epstein flight logs. No, never going to get around to that. It'll just be a meme that sits out in the ether. But here we are. Here we are on a relatively innocuous Monday morning, and some or all, a few pages of Audrey Hale's manifesto gets released by a media outlet. Which one are you thinking would release it? Is it a mass media outlet like NBC, ABC, CBS? Fox News even? No. They couldn't be bothered about that. They're talking about Trump's civil case, or how many more billions of dollars need to be sent out to those never-ending proxy wars. Far more important things to discuss. Traditional print outlet like Washington Post, New York Times, the New York Post if you're feeling nasty, or even Newsweek? No. It ended up being Stephen Goddamn Crowder ended up getting 3 pages of the manifesto. Is it the full thing? Is there more to it? Does he actually have? And it kind of looks like it was a picture that was taken. Now that I can kind of see the background, unfortunately I can't zoom it in because YouTube's the big gay when it comes to this type of stuff. Even though it is news coverage, they don't see it that way because, I don't know, I don't have a cheap suit on and I'm not sitting at some CGI desk. No. Okay, so you got screenshots, which what looks like it's probably the officers that responded to the shooting at the time, going out to the vehicle that Audrey drove to the school and taking pictures of it from there. It ends up confirming a lot of things that all of the conspiracy theorists were thinking about. It's not like, as it said in the headlines there, the trans activists claim that trans school shooter Audrey Hale was a victim of transphobia, but Manifesto reveals she was fueled by anti-white hate. Why do you think this is just currently, right now, getting shuffled out of the headlines? Because there's a basketball game into headlines. Gal Gadot is acting like a plank of wood. But if you're going to push this out for anything, have an Eve Fartlow trend, that would be all right. But how on earth? And I understand that he is well connected, but more so than just the regular mass media outlets. I find that to be very interesting. Very, very interesting. But if this is because the FBI responded and was doing all of the evidence collection, hell, even went to Hale's abode and went through everything the day of, and then they decided to cover it up. Why would they want to cover it up? Well, you can read some of the bullet points, pun not entirely intended. Want to kill all you little crackers? I hope to have a high, KD ratio. I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. And shout out to Biggie Smalls with that last one that's there. On top of so many other things, okay? Yeah, and I can see one of them. I wish to, shoot you weak asses dicks with your mop. Yeah, you're going after kids. like, remember, the victims in this, they were grade schoolers, and a couple of staff members ended up getting clipped. So yeah, it was definitely a travesty at the time, and now we can take a look and find some motive and then start to question from there. So read through it while you can. I'll go ahead and link out to the X post there for you guys to read through them yourself. I would love to, but reasons. And do it while you can, because Facebook is the first, and I'm imagining it's probably not going to be the last social media platform to censor the Nashville school shooter manifesto. Steven Crowder released portions of the Nashville school shooter manifesto on his Louder with Crowder show on Monday morning. Only to have the post about the document censored on Facebook. This shooter was Audrey Hale, who identified as trans masculine. Is that the way that we're going to go with that one? Whatever. He reported that Facebook is now censoring the Nashville Manifesto and shared a screenshot of a warning he gets when he tries to post the content. The post may go against our community standards on violence and incitement. That's the way that they try to catch you, as somebody who has ended up catching a couple of strays from YouTube for covering news stories. The most recent one for me was reading a transcript of a conversation of an IDF officer about my 40 beheaded babies. And then even before that, I think, last year it was covering the crazy dude who had a hatchet in a Manhattan McDonald's, just banging it against the table. Ended up getting clipped for that one as well. So I understand, but we also know how uniformly these terms of service gets applied. It's almost like when the FBI decides what they will and will not release. Very consistent application of the rules. But you could just go ahead. You can go ahead and trust in the pictures that have apparently been provided. They haven't been doctored. They are not from an unrelated story. These are, in fact, authentic. A local media outlet confirms Nashville trans school shooters anti-white manifesto pages are authentic. Nashville's Fox 17 confirmed through a source that these photos obtained and released by Steven Crowder on Monday morning are authentic. The investigation has been launched into the release of these photos. Oh yes, there have been quite a few investigations launched, but not by the FBI, the original cultivators of the evidence. FBI refuses to comment on leaked Nashville shooters manifesto, which claims there is a number of times she could have been caught in 2021. Yeah, that was something else. That was another one of the bullet points that's in there. I've made myself known, and there's, other instances of me being out there on the prowl. And then there's also apparently a 10-minute long video. I don't know if it's a performative version of the written text, but I would have to imagine the FBI more than likely also is in possession of that, and something that, unless of course there's another good leaker that's out there, we will never see the light of day. As this matter is addressed by the courts, the FBI will not be commenting on the reported documents. FBI Memphis Field Office Public Affairs Officer Elizabeth Clement Webb, it's just women who are in charge of these things, anyways, wrote in an email to the Daily Wire's Greg Ree. We'll be talking about the Daily Wire here very shortly, because oh boy, do they have their fucking panties in a bunch about this. The 3 pages of the handwritten notes released by Steven Crowder on Monday morning revealed Hale planning down to the minute how the Covenant School shooting would take place. Yeah, the 3rd page is a rough approximation of how things were going to end up going. Yeah, and the Covenant School shooting would take place, in which 3 teachers and 3 children were killed, as well as acknowledging that Hale would also be killed in the process. Yes, martyr yourself for the trans cause. Normally those types aren't so dramatic when it comes to hopping into the standard 42%. On one page, Hale wrote, there were several times I could have been caught, especially back in the summer of 2021. None of that matters now. I am almost an hour and 7 minutes away. One of the pages headlined, yes, Yeet the Kids. Hale calls the students crackers and expresses hatred for their white privilege. What could possibly be the motive, which they left nebulous? We have no idea what could have possibly motivated this shooter out there. We just need to go ahead and ban firearms. That's what we should be doing. But as was posited at the beginning, how did Crowder get a hold of this stuff? Obviously, would have had an FBI source or one of the police departments who found those, took the pictures of it, and then somebody was just finally fed up. 8 months after all of this stuff happened, nobody was going to be releasing it, or maybe they were threatening to just go ahead and completely 86 it, keep it right at the back of the warehouse, and all the suffering's over, and we don't want to reopen old wounds. And now that Crowder has done this, Nashville mayor launches investigation into leak of trans Nashville shooters manifesto. There are certain trigger points that certain politicians and people in power will just go ahead and activate all available resources for if said topics for them get triggered. It's so wild when you have a leftist like this just go ahead and lose his mind over, we're not protecting the public, trans shooters, the trans who do you actually think that you're helping by doing this? But all right. Following the leak of the transgender Nashville shooters' alleged manifesto on Monday, Mayor Freddie O'Connell said that the city has launched an investigation into how the images of the writings were released. I have directed Wally Dietz, Metro's law director, to investigate to initiate an investigation into how these images could have been released. That investigation may involve local, state, and federal authorities. I'm deeply concerned with the safety, security, and the well-being of Covenant families and all Nashvillians who are grieving. No, man, if you were actually looking at keeping people safe, you would have released that manifesto, because that's kind of standard practice, as sick as it is, or at least wouldn't have impeded it, because somebody who has been through the system, like Audrey Hale, has gone through those, let's just say, transformations. You learn those ideas from somewhere, okay? You wanted to go through with a fine-tooth comb with the Columbine kids all the way back in the cut, blaming their motives on everything from Marilyn Manson to violent video games. Time and time again, it's the firearms, it's a broken home. Nobody ever wants to address the fact that these people are on, handfuls of pills or anything like that, but you never want to, directly attack your sponsors, right, media? But no. This was a special case where those pages were just tucked away. They were ultimately just going to be swept under the rug, hoping that we just get another one. They were really hoping that that main shooter, that was going to be the one that was going to end up taking the headlines. And lo and behold, there was still some unfinished business that was out there, which kind of ends up beckoning back to, like I said, put a pin in the Daily Wire stuff, because the CEO of Daily Wire, who instead of being like, good work, or even though that, Crowder, something else from earlier this year, Daily Wire and Crowder have a bit of a beef going on, obviously, but with the release of this stuff and knowing that you directly employ Matt, my only gimmick is what is a woman Walsh, you would think that there would be something to this, but given the fact that it's so blatantly anti-white and you guys are so blatantly Zionistic, maybe it does kind of make a lot of sense. But what is the first thing that he does instead of, laud the release? Crowder is a dishonest, spiteful, narcissistic scumbag. Wow, do you need a screen for that much projection, my guy? What the fuck? Who even in his victories can't help but betray most everyone else doing good work in our space. Whenever you have to point out the good work that you're doing, you're losing the argument, you idiot. Including those who have sued for the release of the manifesto like a local outlet. Okay, as someone not sufficiently pure or dedicated or conservative. Now, you guys are too busy running your Israel First program, but whatever. His no true Scotsman stick is offensive and tired. Oh my God, I'm offensive. Remember, this is supposed to be about the release of the trans manifesto, something that is so blatantly anti-white, blatantly hateful, blatantly anti-Christian. Oh, but I understand why you wouldn't really care about that, and you want to make this all about you? What the fuck? But credit where it's due. He landed a huge and important scoop here, which is kind of hilarious. Keep that in mind as well. Credit where it's due. Credit where it's due, because he went on another fucking sped fest, because this guy is just a gigantic piece of shit. If he can't directly slap a Daily Wire logo on it, he doesn't give a fuck about it. Yo, instead of working together, this is the divisive motherfucker that's out here. Why should anyone have to leak it at all? What gives the government the right to withhold it in the first place? Good point, fair point, especially on the latter half. In the first half, you just, again, seem like a fucking sniveling little bitch. And as Christopher Hale, I don't know who this is, Biden DNC delegate. Okay, so it's a guy saying, yeah, if you want to leak the manifesto, have the courage to leak the entire thing. Maybe that was the entire thing. I don't know, but okay. Yeah, Christopher Hale claps back at Jeremy. Boring. Never a more appropriate surname has ever been affixed to an individual. I appreciate you engaging on this. To quote the late Ben Bradley on partial leaks, then you don't got it. Okay, Stephen Crowder portends to seek nothing but the truth. But if he's a champion of truth, he then he shouldn't publish partial truths. No. It seems like he got the itinerary down. He got a bunch of the scribbles there as well. I thought if you're a Democratic diehard, you guys are normally fairly apprised to quote farming and context clipping. But anyways, yeah, if he's the champion of truth, he shouldn't publish partial truths. Who knows if he even got all of that? Who knows what else is out there? Otherwise, he's a blogger activist. Crowder is notorious for selectively leaking things to manipulate his audience. Me. He'll get no defense from me. He'll get no defense. Credit where... whatever. But the only reason he is taking a position to leak the manifesto at all is because the authorities think we work for them and need to be protected from any unauthorized information that might cause us to question their narrative. He deserves credit for challenging them on that. If you care about the truth, they deserve far more than your ire. They deserve far more of your ire than Steven Crowder. Or you just don't be a bitch and you directly address the scummy shit that you were doing during contract negotiations. But I've done videos on that as well. And then you got Thurnabitch, that's down there. I don't like him clogging up my timeline, so I have him muted. Anyways, neither the FBI or Nashville PD will confirm or deny the excerpts. There's lots of blame to go around, not at Crowder this time. Yeah, he's somebody who's really opining for one of those lucrative and controlling Daily Wire contracts. And then right underneath that, Daily Wire has confirmed the authenticity of those images. So interesting. The way that he's talking about this, it's almost like the Daily Wire has the information, has the manifesto in some form or fashion, also got said leaks as well, or now that they're finally making the rounds, or maybe somebody's just thinking that, oh, I just don't want to miss any of this clout that's going on right now. Okay, you can go ahead and in your big long Twitter threads and your replies back and forth, you can just go ahead and affix yourself to all the trending topics right now. I'm always shocked. There's not many things that genuinely shock me at this point in time, but finally getting the release of one of the unsolved mysteries of 2023 and then finding a way to somehow make it all about yourself. It's typical Daily Wire. It's the type of bitch shit they have made themselves famous for at certain points this year, and should also be a little bit of a bellwether for anybody looking forward to their Snow White movie. But more on that topic tomorrow. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.